Oh, okay. We are live. So let me look at my page. Okay. I need to go to your page. You're live. Okay, you're live. You're live. You're live. Laquanda, you're live. You're live on your Facebook page. You're live on YouTube.
Hold on, let me click here.
Yeah, you're live. You're live on YouTube. And you're live on Facebook. Yeah, you're live. You're live on YouTube. Uh-oh. Let me cut mine down.
Okay, it won't let me change it to live, so
And what
I'm not.
what what
I'm not.
won't let you turn to live?
I'm not gonna worry about it, huh?
What won't let you turn to live?
No, it won't let me change it to public. I mean,
Okay, hold on a second.
it's not locked anymore. It was locked before, but it's not locked anymore. So, and then I can't tag anybody. So
Well, I can my share button. Oh, okay, hold on. Right, it's got friends only. You need to go. Well, I don't know if you can go into your settings on your Facebook now and change it manually. Can you go into your Facebook settings and change it manually? Like, yeah, like can you go into your settings, your Facebook settings, and change it manually? If not, then it's the StreamYard that won't let you go, that won't let it be public. But you are live.
okay, yeah, I'm not gonna worry about it.
Out. If you tell me what to do, who needs to be tagged, or go
All
into your comment, no, go into your comment section and put at highlight. I'll hit at highlight. You hit at highlight, and your notifications should come. And I'm going to share this from
you
here
need
to
to add
everyone.
all the widows that's on the panel tomorrow.
Okay, I'll send it to them. I'll tag them. I'm going to share this to all of my platforms. Hi, Ebony. Will you share this to your Facebook page? The only thing about this is they will have to share it, and then the only people that may not see it is those who you're not Facebook friends with. But when you're done, it will go public. It will change itself to go public because that's how Wimpo's it, Dr. Wimpo. We don't know, but I got to figure out how to change it. Okay, so I'm to a friend's
Hey,
page. On Shannon. Okay, I just shared it to Shannon. Okay, I need to share it to Pastor Panky. What's Pastor Panky's first name?
Tammy.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, I'm not gonna worry about that.
Um,
Tammy, Tami.
so what I need to do is I need to Go back to here, right? At Tammy Banking.
Y'all bear with me. I'm sorry.
Checking.
D Brack. Give us a second. I am going to start.
Thank you.
Okay. As soon as you get done, then I will
I'm
start.
trying to remember who all. That's Alan. I don't think I
Let me
am.
see how. Okay.
Now, in your comment section, you're going to have to, on your comment section, on your Facebook page, you're going to have to put the @ for uh, um, those who are on your panel. I'm not Facebook friends with Shanika and Miss Allen. So just hit your @ pull their names up and tag them in it. Good afternoon, everybody. Y'all just please be patient with us.
Oh, in the box here.
Yes, in the comment. Yes, in the comment section on your Facebook page, you just got to hit that @ so you can tag them in. Yeah. And that went straight to your YouTube. I need to put it here. I need to write it in here.
Okay.
Okay. Those of you who are watching, if you will please invite, tag, share to your pages. We are all not Facebook friends. Yes, we're all on Facebook, but we're all not Facebook friends. And so we're just having a small technical issue, but we need you all to share this to your pages. And I just commented and it didn't even show up in the comment section. Oh, because you got it, show comments on stage. Okay, there it goes. I'm gonna turn it off for a second. Try something again. Nope, still goes to YouTube.
Okay. It's fine. I'm just going to get started.
Nope. Turn it up a little bit.
Turn it up.
Turn it up.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry for the late come on. We had some technical difficulties, but nevertheless, I am here. On all social media platforms. I thank you for tuning in, and I pray that you will get something out of this Widow's Heart Encounter introduction. Some may be wondering why I'm playing Joy, Unspeakable Joy, talking about grief, because that is what I had when my husband passed. Was unspeakable joy, and it came from nobody but the Lord. So as I get deeper into this, I can go further in explaining how that joy overtook me in the grieving process. Amen. Go ahead and lower that. Okay, so I'm going to mute you. I hear a echo. I heard an echo. Okay, so it's 8 women that will be before you on tomorrow, and I wanted to come a day before just to give a little. Well, it's a lot actually, so that's why I had to come today because I do have a lot to say, but I had to shorten it. Supposed to start at 7, but again, like I said, we are here, and I'm going to go for it now. But I hope you all take notes, see something out of these 2 days for yourself or for someone else that you may be put in position to help with grief. We can say questions at the end. Like I said, I'm not too savvy with live and stuff like that. So know that I am not ignoring anybody's comment. I am not. But I will get to them at the end. And if you have questions, please put them in the chat, and I will try my best to get to them. Okay? Let me open this. Okay, so I have, like I said, I have different avenues going, different phones here and there. So please bear with me and be patient. I hear echo on myself. Okay, for some know and some don't know. I was married twice, so it was my second husband that passed. My first marriage was from 1997 to 2011. Let me stop right there. Dear Lord, I invite you into this encounter on tonight. I ask that you have your way in me and through me. You use me to say what needs to be said, that someone may be uplifted, encouraged on tonight in the mighty name of Jesus. Lord, I ask forgiveness of sins, known and unknown, commission and iniquities, um, that I may have done in the mighty name of Jesus. Lord, just continue to have your way today and tomorrow. In the mighty name of Jesus, I pray. Amen. Okay, so back to my first marriage. It was from 1997 to 2011. I was a wife for 13 years, but we was together for 17. And that union ended in divorce. How many know that divorce can cause grief? So that was my first grief that I could say a real grief in my older age. Yes, I did experience death with my grandparents and family members, but it was nothing like that grief of me and my husband ending that union in divorce. Okay. Um, and I believe, this is my belief, I believe that grieving someone that's alive is harder than grieving someone that is deceased. Why I say that? Because you can still see the person, access is denied. You can still hear their voice, but access is denied. You can still see them in life, but access is still denied. And that's just the name of few things of grieving someone that's alive versus someone that's dead. Even if it's toxic, it's still grief. How can you grieve something that's toxic? Love or soul ties will have you in this situation, but God. So here I am grieving the man I called my husband, not to death, but it felt like a death to me. Grieving the man I truly grew to love, even though it was toxic. My healing process, I started rebuilding myself, my confidence, my joy, my peace, and most importantly, me. I was giving more of my time to God because He was the only one who could help me through what I was going through. Not my mama, not my friends, not my leaders, although all those people were important during that time. But my true strength in overcoming that came from the Lord. I had to confess out of my mouth every day I woke up, Lord, give me strength to make it through today. And He did just that. And that's how we have to approach grief, especially if you are a believer. I know everybody might not believe in God, you may believe in something else, but I admonish you to believe in the true Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, because that is who definitely gave me the strength that I asked for, that I prayed for, that I had a desire to have to overcome grief. So the Lord gave me strength day through day. My go-to song, believe it or not, it was not a gospel song, although I did listen to gospel music. But my go-to song was No More Drama by Mary J. Blige. And I can remember a time when I was in FBH, and, Pastor Tillman, she may be watching or may not, but I can remember she was the revivalist at GMO, Greater Mount Olive. And she was talking about how she listens to secular music, so she listened to the lyrics, so she would know how to pray for our young people. And she said some other things I can't remember, but that stuck with me because so many times we get condemned for listening to other music. But that really made sense because if we pay attention to what these lyrics are that our children and young people are listening to, that get into their ear gates, we need to be praying against those things that will enter into them. Amen. So yes, No More Drama by Mary J. Blige. I played it faithfully. Like I said, along with gospel music as well. Um, so I'm going to go talk about the five stages of grief. When they were introduced in 1969 by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. And even though they have it listed, everybody does not go through the five stages of grief in the order that they have listed for you. The first is denial, which we look at as this can't be happening. Then we have anger. Why did this happen? Then we have bargaining. If only I could have, or if only I should have. Or if you do this, Lord, I promise I'll do that. So it's a bargaining situation. Then depression. The reality is setting in. So then it causes depression to come upon you. And then acceptance. This happened, and I will learn to live with it. But now, grief counselors has added two more, which is shocking and testing, and then reconstruction. So you may find out if you was to look that up, you may find it is say 5 stages of grief or 7. But again, everybody does not go through those in that order. Okay. So now I'm fast forwarding. I'm skipping out a whole lot. So I'm kind of grouping it in. So now I'm reaping the harvest God promised me after I was obedient and did what He told me to do after the divorce, which was move back to Knoxville from Atlanta. And I said I was never, ever moving back to Knoxville. So we definitely have to be careful saying what we're never going to do. Some stuff you know that you're not going to do. But some stuff, we need to be careful because God will turn that thing around. And what you find yourself saying never to, you will find yourself actually doing it again. So after 1 year, no, I was still going through my divorce. So it was within that year, he had already left. So it may have been going into 2 years. So I finally moved back to Knoxville. And then I met my husband. And so things began to happen quickly. After 1 year of learning each other, we got married. And I'm telling you, I kept saying this can't be real. This can't be real. Because what I experienced in my first marriage versus who I was talking to now, totally different. So yeah, it didn't seem like it was real to me. And so I would say a lot, this can't be real. This can't be real. But he would stop me and say, I would you stop saying this can't be real because this is real. And let me tell y'all this. There is a such thing as too good to be true. And it's healthy. That's what it's called. We're allowed to experience it, we're allowed to have it, and we're allowed to consume it. So when you hear people say, "Oh, that's too good to be true," yeah, in all actuality, it can be, but you're allowed to partake in the too good to be true moments. Amen. So right after we got married, our honeymoon, come back, boom, he had an accident, an altercation that caused him to have a toe amputated, the first toe amputated. Okay. So during the dating process, we have to, during the dating process, there are questions that we ask, right? We ask how many people you didn't been with, um, the occupation, children, we ask all these questions. I'm gonna tell you to add to your questions, health problems. What type of health issues, what type of health problems do you have? Because in doing so, you have to ask yourself, are you willing to honor the in sickness and health part of the vows once you get married to this person? Because once all that stuff is laid out on the table, if that's something that you know that you're not going to do or know that you don't want to do, don't get married. Because when that part hits your marriage, you will be tested. I'm telling you. So you will make a choice if you're going to honor those vows or if you're going to walk away, like my husband's first wife did when he got diagnosed. This is what he told me. So I'm going on what I was told. And let me say this. I'm not here to bash anybody. This is my truth on what I live and experience. Okay. So ask the question, what type of health issues do you have? Do you work out? Do you exercise? What's your eating habits? Because it makes a difference. So what looks good on the outside may not always be good on the inside. The first marriage, I'm sorry, he dealt with that, like I said, in his first marriage. When he found out he was sick, his wife said she didn't want to take care of nobody that was sick, and things went down here from that, and they got a divorce. I'm trying to read the comments. Okay. So he told me he was diabetic, but it was controlled by exercise and weight loss. But apparently he has some underlying issues that need to be addressed because, like I said, the altercation that he had, his toe got broke. He didn't say anything to me about it. And I didn't notice it until a couple of days. But by that time, his toe had turned black. So no, we're going to the emergency room, which he didn't want to go. So we went to the emergency room. and of course, it was too late. The toe had to come off, so they had to amputate his toe. So from there is when it started happening. Diabetes numbers were out of whack, and high blood pressure, all this stuff just started. Okay, so he started having diabetic ulcers up under his foot, in and out of oxygen treatment. His foot would get healed, then it would come back with ulcers and it would break down, and just back and forth. It was back and forth, back and forth. And so it resulted in another toe amputated. So we're dealing with that. But let me say this, even in all of that, I never stopped loving him. I never stopped treating him like I did when we first got married, when we were dating, none of that. I never did. He was still the same person to me. And it matters. In your marriage, in your relationship, it matters when you come across issues, when you come across situations that are out of your control. It matters how you respond to each other. Okay. So I told him in the beginning, I eat healthy, I exercise, and he jumped on board. He was walking, he was eating right, at least when he came to my house. The food that I would eat, that I fixed, he would eat. But let me tell y'all, after we got married, this man told me that he used to leave my house and go get him some more food, Big Mac, fries, and all kinds of stuff, because what I was giving him wasn't enough. Like, he could see his plate. That's what he said. I could see my plate. I'm like, yeah, you're supposed to be able to see your plate. It should not be piled up with food, because that's not good. But that's how he was used to eating before he met me. Okay. So now I had to introduce him to a healthier lifestyle of eating, because I told you I did not marry you for you to die on me. So you got to do something about it. So yeah, after he told me that, I was like, really? And I mean, we was laughing about it, but now it wasn't funny. But he didn't know that I was really serious, because what he experienced in his first marriage. So he didn't, and this is stuff that he voiced to me. He did not believe that I still wanted to be with him, and that I wanted to take care of him if something was to happen. So once he seen that I was serious, he got serious. But let me tell you, it was actually too late. In all actuality, the damage was already done to his body. So God just used me. You may hear it again, because I'm going ahead of myself. God just used me to allow him to have a little more time. And I'll talk about that later. So, but God graced him with time to experience his Jeremiah 29:11, which is one of my favorite scriptures, my first favorite scripture. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. They are plans of good, not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope. So now, here we are, high blood pressure, diabetes, 2 toes amputated. Now we have to face dialysis, because his kidneys is starting to take a toll on him, because his numbers were remaining high for a long time. Not just women and men, whoever, if you are a diabetic, I'm telling you, do not play with that. It is so important to follow your provider's instructions on your health if you want to live, because diabetes can affect every part of your body. It really does. And I used to get on Elder when she got diagnosed. I used to get on her, and she probably thought that I was just fussing to be fussing, but no, I cared. And what I went through with my husband, I didn't want her to go through that, and I didn't want her husband to have to go through that. Because when you're married, it's just not the husband or the wife. It's both of you all. You are one. So what the wife go through, the husband's going through. What the husband's going through, the wife is going through. So when he went, I had to go through it too, because I had to feel the effects of what he went through. Living out your vows. So now 3 days a week, 4 hours, 5 hours. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, he had to go to dialysis. It was like a shift. So it was stuff that he couldn't do. So I wouldn't do it because I didn't want him to feel left out. And he would say, is it something?
There's a question.
What's
the question is, how old were you when you got married the second time?
I was going to say 20. No, I was 37. 37. 37. Because I was 37. 37 when I got married the second time. So the first time I was young. Can you hear? 37. I answered it. 37. 37. Okay. So, again, the dialysis. He would be drained some days. Some days he will have energy. And he would push himself to do. He would push himself to still cook because he loved cooking. He cooked, cleaned the house, just did what he enjoyed to do when he had the strength to do. But let me back up a little bit. So he had to come off his job. So these are other things that we're grieving within the marriage together, okay? So that's loss of income. So now it was all on me because he had to go through the process to get on Social Security because his doctor took him off. His doctor said, you cannot work. And I don't do this for my patients, but I care about you. And if you don't do right, I don't see you living past 50. And let me tell y'all, he did not make it past 50. It did not come back to me. That, what his doctor said, did not come back to me until after the death. All this stuff start coming back to my remembrance of what was taking place, okay? So, yes, that's what his doctor told him. If you don't do right, I do not see you living past 50. He did not make it past 50, okay? So, during that, his foot, dealing with the foot, dealing with the diabetes, dealing with high blood pressure, all the other stuff that's happening. Foot did not totally heal. And we was hearing from everybody, God's mouthpieces, prophetic women and men that we know hear from God. God's gonna heal his foot. He's not gonna have to get an amputation. None of that. I mean, and I was standing on that. He was standing on that. I was believing that. So one day through prayer, I heard the Lord say, I am healing his foot by removing the dead. And so I cried like a baby. But listen, I did not share that with my husband right then and there. I prayed and I said, Lord, you're going to have to show him what you showed me. We have to understand, especially as wives, when the Lord speaks to you concerning your husband, it may not be for you to say something right then and there. You need to go into prayer and ask God to show him or show her, if it's a husband. And God will do just that. And then you all may be able to talk about it or ask God, when do I need to release this? to my spouse. Because if you release too early, they may not receive you, or they may even resent you for what you're saying. So after I prayed and asked God to show him that, it wasn't too long. It wasn't too much longer. He said, I want to talk to you about something. And I said, okay. And he said, I hope you don't get mad. So I'm really like, okay, what are you going to talk to me about? He was like, I think I'm going to have the my foot chopped off. And I'm just like, don't say it like that. But he was a comedian too. I think I'm having my foot chopped off. I'm like, why you gotta say it like that? You mean you got an amputation? And so he was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna have it. And so then and that's when I told him. I said, well, no, I'm not mad. I said, God already revealed it to me. I was just waiting on him to tell you, and so we just prayed about it, and we went and made the appointment to the doctor. And because even the doctor said, you will have a better quality of life if you remove this foot. And he was like, no, because we both was like, his foot's going to be healed. But when God showed me that I am healing the foot by removing the dead, the foot was dead. There was no life there for him in that foot. So it had to come off. And I'm telling you, when he got that amputation, he had so much better quality of life. He was doing so much more than he was doing with that foot. So listen to me. Listen to the voice of God. Pray about it before you reveal it to your spouse. If it's especially depending on the situation, what it is, ask God when to reveal it and then go from there. So during all of this time, I was feeling guilty because I felt like the altercation was my fault or my children's fault, because it had something to do with my first husband, who was just jealous, and it was an abusive marriage that I was in. So yeah, a lot of that took place. They got into an altercation, and what happened. So he was always saying, it's not your fault. It's not the kids' fault. I don't blame y'all. God allowed it to happen. My husband telling me God allowed it to happen, because if it didn't, I believe I would have died a long time ago. Because here I am thinking my the diabetes is controlled, but in all actuality, it was not, because he wasn't on any insulin or anything like that. He said it was controlled by weight loss and exercise, and it was not, because once he lost the weight, he went back to eating wrong. Okay. So believe it or not, I just went to grief session last year. I was driving home from church one day, and I seen a sign at a church that said grief share. And it was the day before our anniversary. So I was like, I'm going. And I went in there and I got a whole lot of takeaways. And that's what I was really going for, to get the takeaway so I can help other people, because I really do feel like my grieving process was over, but yet I was still met with grief at any given moment, any given time. And that's throughout our life. It will hit you at any given moment, any given time, because you could be laughing 1 minute, and then the next minute a thought will come to mind, and then you find yourself crying. So this is one of the questions that they ask when we feeling guilty about a death. Is your thought a fact? Check it. These are some notes that you all can write down if you want to. Is your thought a fact? Check it. Grief can blur the line between what happened and what we imagine happened. When someone experiences loss, thoughts often feel true simply because they are painful. If he had never gotten into the fight, that was my thought. It was because of me and my kid's dad. That was my thought. If he had told me when he first saw his toe changing, that was my thought. I should have paid more attention to his foot. That was my thought. But even if that did not happen, would he still have been met with these issues? Probably so, because the diabetes was out of control already. I don't know. I can't say that, but I can't say that it was a fact. So that was my feelings of guilt, because it was painful to watch him go through that. Another question that was asked: am I dealing with facts or assumptions? I can assume that if he hadn't done this or that, then this would have not taken place. I can assume, but does it make it a fact? Many grieving people discover that what feels like a fact is actually fear, regret, or longing. False guilt happens when we take responsibility for things that were never ours to control. So what we have is a false guilt. Ask yourself, did you? I should have known. I should have stopped it. I should have said more. I should have been there. Those are some of the questions that we ask ourselves when we're grieving, not just a spouse, anybody. When you're grieving anybody, if something bad happened, then these questions may be valid. If you were a part of their death, what's the word I want to use? Purposefully, then it may be a fact. But if you had nothing to do with a person dying, then again, those are nothing but false guilt questions that we ask. Did you intentionally hurt them? Hopefully the answer is no. Did you do the best that you could with the information you had at the time? Did you love them? Usually the answer is yes. Could you see the future? Definitely no. Were you in control of everything that happened? Probably not. Did you cause their death? And I hope definitely not. These questions help separate responsibility from regret. Let me say that again. These type of questions help separate responsibility from regret. Regret is not always guilt. Let me say that again. Regret is not always guilt. I'm going to say it one more time. Regret is not always guilt. So my husband used to tell me how much joy I brought him, how much joy the kids brought him. He did a lot of stuff for the first time since we got married. Did it make me feel better? It did at the moment, but I still felt like it was my fault. And again, it goes back to because I couldn't control the situation. So I was helpless. So that's what caused me to feel guilty. Like I said before, I never stopped loving him or showing him how much I appreciate him. He was still sexy to me. He was still fine to me. And that part didn't change. But he had issues. Now he had the issues with if I still really wanted to be with him. I'll get deeper into that. He didn't understand. How can I still want him after all he lost? After he lost his job, after he lost his leg, then the diabetes and the dialysis start affecting his teeth. So he had to get a lot of his teeth pulled out. And so, but it still didn't change who he was as a man. It did not. It did not change who he was as a man or how I viewed him, how I seen him. I still seen him as who I seen him as when I first met him. So let's speed this up. Fast forward a coming up on 10 years of marriage. We're about to get into it. We decided to have a vow renewal out of the blue. Originally, we were going to do a destination celebration, but since my mother had got diagnosed with cancer, I said we can have it. Well, I asked him if it was okay with us having our vow renewal in Detroit around family. And of course, he agreed. He wanted to move to Detroit anyway. I don't know why, but yeah, he wanted to move to Detroit. I didn't. I wanted to stay south. I wanted to go back to Atlanta, but anyway. So I kept saying to myself, I don't know why we having this vow renewal. We have it in Detroit, and I don't even know if Apostle Serena even remember. I even said I had a conversation with her one time. I said, I don't know why we having this vow in Detroit. And I can't remember everything else, but I do remember that. Like, this is so crazy to me. Why am I having this now all of a sudden? So, truthfully, the Lord did show me the death. But I thought it was going to be my mother because of the cancer diagnosis. This is the case. The Lord did show me the death. And so now I'm putting it all together. Like, okay, it's going to be like a family reunion. Everybody's going to be there. We'll have, this is all this stuff again in my mind, these false emotions, all this stuff that I'm thinking about. So right before, when I tell y'all he was living out his heart's desire. I mean, it was like we was traveling short trips every weekend. We was just frequently taking short trips here and there and just doing stuff. We were just on the go. We were on the go. So this last trip he took in August before our renewal in September. And his favorite quartet group was Tim Rogers and the Fellas. So we went to this gospel concert and seen them and Tamla Mann and Ty Tribbett, Tim Rogers, and all them. I mean, he had an absolute ball. And so before then, he'd been wanting to plan a dinner for his aunts and uncles. So finally, he got a chance to do that. He was a very family-oriented man. When I say he loved his family, he loved his family. He loved his sister. He loved his family. So he finally got a chance to prepare this dinner he had for his aunts and uncles. He celebrated them, gave them little token gifts, and just cooked this big old meal for them. And he was so happy. I mean, he was so happy that he was able to finally execute that. Okay. So right after that, something happened, and it kind of dampened his emotions and his feelings. And so he was like, I think I'm ready to move. I'm really ready to move from Knoxville now. And so, I said, well, where are you going to move to? Because I really don't want to move to Detroit. So that's when he said, well, did you like South Carolina? And so I said, yes, I did. He said, well, we can move to South Carolina. So we started making plans to move to South Carolina. Okay. So one day he sat on the bed and he was crying. He said, I'm tired. I miss my mama and my daddy. And so I listened to him then. And after he got done, I said, you're not giving up on me, are you? He said, no, I'm just tired. So I went and hugged him, grabbed his hands. And while I was doing all of that, I was praying silently. And then I left out the room and I just let him have his time to himself. So going back to the Tim Rogers concert, the gospel concert. So on our way back from the gospel concert, we were with our leaders, Apostle Chris and Serena Holloway. So we get back to the car. We got another question?
No, there are people saying that you have an echo in your mic. Okay, yeah. If you have that other phone on, you can cut that volume down on your other phone. Turn the volume on. Okay, you have an echo. Everybody's saying the echo, there's an open mic. Okay, you're echoing. Try to figure out.
Okay, does it echo now? Can everybody hear me?
You're good now. You're good. It's good. You're good. Go ahead. Can you hear me?
I'm muting you.
Well, I'm telling you, it's good. Go forward.
Okay. Can y'all hear me? Is it better now? Okay. So back up to we leaving the concert. When we get back to the house, get back to our leader's house, get ready to get out. He was still asleep. So this is very, very, very touching. It goes back to diabetes. I'm telling you how important it is to, if you have diabetes, to manage it. So he was asleep. We pull up, we get to the house. My apostle, Chris, he come over there. He was like, I think Jesse had an accident. You might want to help him. So when I went over there to wake him up, and sure enough, so I helped get him up into the house and get him cleaned up and stuff like that. So I believe this is where his conversations with God took a turn. His tiredness, I believe he was really, really tired after that. And more so, I think that he was more so, no doubt in my mind, it was embarrassment. I know that. Okay. So his insides of his bodies have started shutting down. Now we're getting to the nitty-gritty of it. And so I don't know who all knew the extent of his sickness, but I was his wife and I knew what was going on, regardless of what everybody else thought, seen, or knew. I knew because I was there. I was the one who had to help bring him back to life in the middle of the night when his blood sugar would drop and he would go out. I was the one who had to carry him, me, 180, 90 pounds probably at the time, and he 300 or something, and the strength from the Lord that had me carry him over my shoulder, out the house, in the car, to the emergency room, because he going out from being in ketoacidosis because his blood sugar dropped so low. And I'm pulling up to the emergency room and they asking me like, well, who got him in the car? I did. You got him in the car by yourself? Yeah, strength from nowhere. Because I'm trying to tell you, when you love your person, when you love your spouse, you're going to find the strength from wherever and you're going to get them to safety. Okay? So that's the conversation I believe he had with God. Lord, I'm tired. I'm done. I don't want her going through this, because like I said, he used to tell me all the time, find you somebody else. I can't do this. I can't do that. You deserve to be this and you deserve this and you deserve that. And I'm just like, man, you talking crazy. You know, to death do us part. I didn't marry you for all that other kind of stuff. So here we are. I'm getting, let me take a breather here. So here we are in Detroit, planning for our day. He was looking forward to some of his family members to come down from Tennessee. And the person that came was his best man, his cousin, and another cousin. And he was our best man in our first marriage, our first wedding as well. He came And then he had family members that lived in Detroit. They were there. But for those of us who know, he was looking for certain family members to be there. And so afterwards, his cousin, he was like, JB was really hurt that the family didn't show up. And I said, he'll be, he all right. He was like, no, he was really hurt. So I don't know what conversation they had. He didn't talk to me about it. I don't know, but that was just what his cousin told me. So know this. Here's another grief. When you are in tune with your spouse and they're grieving, you will pick that up, or you should be able to pick them up in the spirit when they're grieving or when they're going through anything. You should be able to pick your spouse up in the spirit. And so it wasn't just his grief, it was my grief as well, because what he was grieving, I was grieving, because I had to hear the effects of it. Okay. So, when we get back to the room, we laughed and joked about our little dance. And if for those that know, I put on Facebook, our little dance we did, it was absolutely hilarious. And we even practiced it and everything, which I can't dance a lick, but we did it anyway. And it was funny. It was funny. We had a good time. And then that's when he, voiced his hurts and all this kind of stuff when we talked about it. So during our, where's my, hold on. Here it is right here. So during our exchanging of the vows, before we did, we said our own little, I'm trying to wrap this up in 30 minutes. We said our own little acknowledgments. I'll say it like that. And I'm going to read what he said. Elder she typed this out. I don't know if y'all can see it. I'm blocking it. But she typed it out for me, put it in the frame. He said, first, let me start off by saying, let's turn our Bibles to, of course, the room smiled and laughed. This is coming from my heart. When I was in a wheelchair, you took care of me. When I was on the scooter, you took the scooter and put it in the car. You took me to church. I was in a wheelchair and you took me to church. You took me to church. Y'all, I said that 3 times. She took me to church because I know you love me. Now, let me back up. It was periods of time that he had to be on the scooter. Then he was in the wheelchair for 6 months with the amputation. So, yes, it was me. I had to take that scooter in and out, take the wheelchair in and out everywhere we go. And it was no problem. And when we'll get around other men, they'd be like, I got it. And I'm just so used to it. I wouldn't even let nobody. They'd be like, girl, let me do this. But I'm so used to doing it, like it was no problem with me just picking it up, throwing it in the car and back and forth. So I had to allow people to help me when the help was there. So he said, the walls were closing in on me. Sometimes I wanted to give up, but I had 2 women in my life that had my back, my wife and my daughter, which he was talking about Jakaya. My daughter said, I have never seen someone take a needle and still survive. I took needles time after time in the arm, in the neck, in the leg. But guess what, LaQuanda? You were still beside me regardless. I had COVID. You snuck in the hospital and brought me clothes. I did. I put on my scrubs, my uniform, my badge, and I went into that hospital. Yes, I did. And I used to work at the hospital. So that's how I was able to get in. When I couldn't breathe, you called me and said they gave up on you. You prayed a special prayer. The prayer came from your heart. God heard you. He sent an angel in the room that day. I'll never forget it. She came in and said, someone told me to do something. That was the Holy Spirit. It wasn't me because I didn't talk to nobody. She put her hand on my chest and said, you're going to live. You're not going to die. I started breathing instantly. I came off the machine. I went to the room to show her to you, but she was gone. We couldn't find her to tell her thank you. You was there for me. I had an amputation done and you encouraged me. That don't matter, Jay. I still love you. That kept me going. Now I was going to get personal. I love you from my heart because my mother is not here. He started crying. You took place of my mother. You became my mother. The things you tell me, I think of my mother. The things that you do for me, I think of my mother. Now my heart goes out to you. These are my battles. I won't give up like you didn't give up on me. I'm going to keep pushing and I'm going to keep fighting. Now, LaQuanda, I do love you. 10 years later, I'm still in love with you. You prayed me out of this. You and my bishop and my elder. I didn't forget you. Laugh. But LaQuanda, closing, I love you. Thank you for being there for me. So I paid attention to I paid attention to the reactions of the people when he said, taking the place of my mother, you became my mother. I seen and I felt the people when he said that. Like, what he mean by that? Let me tell you what he mean by that. The things that I did for him, the things that you tell me, I think of my mother. He wasn't saying I'm taking his mother's place as his mother, but being a nurturing wife, an understanding wife, the qualities of a mother, because what? I'm a mother. Then I became a wife. I was taught how to be a wife. The qualities that a mother has and gives, he saw that in me. And it resembled his mother. He used to say all the time, what made you do that? Or why did you do this? I promise that's what my mother used to do. Let me call my sister so you won't think I'm lying. And he would call her. And he would say, Lisha, the mama used to do such and such and such and such. And she'd be like, sure did. And I'd be like, dang. I mean, it could be something simple. He'd be like, why you do that? And I'd be like, don't tell me your mama did. He was like, yeah. And I'm like, whatever. And then he'd be like, let me call my sister. And she'd be like, yeah, mama used to do that. And I'd just be like, wow. So, but don't we know that our sons, they grow up and they look for women with qualities that their mother have shown them, especially if they were loving good mother to our sons. Our sons gonna grow up and they're gonna look for that nurturing in a woman. So that's what he meant for those of you that may be watching who had reactions when he said that part. But I knew what he meant. And if you was in the spirit, you would have knew what he was talking about. So let me move on next. Okay. So here we are on to the honeymoon. We took a cruise. Me, him, my daughter, and her friend at the time. So I'm fast forwarding to this cruise. First day was great. I asked, did he want a wheelchair? He said, no, I was fine. By day 3, he opted for the wheelchair. He was still trying to be strong and walk through this whole ship. And I'm like, no, I'm going to get a wheelchair. I'll keep it in the room. When you're ready to use it, then you can have it there. So he wasn't feeling too good. And I said, well, is your blood sugar? He said, no, it's good. He said it was his stomach. So I went down to the medical to see if he could be seen. They said they didn't take insurance. And when I tell you, it was like $500-$600. It was a lot. It was a lot. And so, I asked him, did he want me to pay for it? He was like, no, just, I'll be fine. So I gave him some Tylenol, and he said, just let me rest. So I gave him Tylenol, and he rested. So I went to the pool, and I'll never forget, as I was putting on my swimsuit, it was how he said it in the way he looked at me. He sat on the side of the bed, and he said, you look really nice. It was so sensual. And it just it melted my heart the way he said it. And so I went to the pool with my daughter, taking pictures, this and that. So I come back to the room. I said, are you feeling better? Are you feeling better enough to go eat, or do you want me to bring something back? So he said, no, I feel good. So we got up, he showered, put on our clothes. We went, ate, had a great time. So fast forward to debarkation day. So we're waiting to get off the ship, and I'm watching him. Now throughout, I'm asking him, "You good? You good?" "Yeah, I'm fine." So we're waiting in our little waiting area. So I'm watching him, and he's kind of looking like he's sweating and looking tired. So I'm like, "Jay, you good?" He was like, "Yeah, I'm good." Keep saying I'm good. So we finally get off the boat, make it to the airport, get on the plane. So I'm still watching him, and he is not looking the best, okay? So I'm asking him, "You good?" And he keeps saying he good. I'm like, "You're not good, dude. You're not good." So I asked the flight attendant, I said, "Do y'all have any snacks or juice I can give him because he's a diabetic? Maybe his blood sugar." So they gave him some snacks and juice. He ate, drunk that, and he went to the bathroom. He was in there for a long time. So as I was getting ready to go check on him, he finally comes out. So I'm praying like, "Lord, please don't let nothing happen to my husband while we're in this air, on this plane. Let us get back to Detroit quick, fast, in a hurry." So we did. The plane got there earlier than it was supposed to arrive. And as soon as we get ready to get off and he stands up, he falls out. So of course the stewardess hollering, "Nurse, nurse, nurse, is there a nurse on here?" So a nurse come from the back, and I'm like, I'm a nurse, but literally, y'all, I'm talking about everything medical just left me. Like I just went into froze, literally. And so I'm like, where's your insulin? Where's your insulin? Now imagine he had the insulin pump thing on his arm, so he didn't have to actually do the injection. So I'm like, where your machine? Where your insulin? He's like, "I don't have it." I'm like, "You don't have it?" I said, "Where is it?" He said, "I left it at home," which was back in home, and he was talking about in Detroit. So he never said anything about he not having insulin this whole time. But I'm watching him take all his other medicines. My husband have never, ever went on any vacation without because he was on it with his stuff. I'm telling y'all right now, he was on it. So I did not have to go behind him to check those things. Here's another where guilt may come in, but I didn't allow guilt to overtake me in this. I'm telling y'all, I did not. I did not. So we're doing chest rubs and trying to keep him alert. He getting agitated. And I'm like, I'm fine. So ambulance finally come, get him off, take him to the hospital. Gets to the hospital, they get him situated and get IVs in them and all this kind of stuff. So I said, okay, I'm gonna go get my car. I'll be right back. My mother took me to my car. And I came back. When I come back to the hospital, I'm like, I need to go back to my house. I just left. So the nurse said, well, they'll be out to get you in a second. The second seemed like it turned into 30 minutes, an hour. I don't know. But I went back up there. I said, I need to go back there now to find out what's going on with my husband. So she said, well, I was in the nurse house. So the nurse finally came out. He said, we had to intubate him. And I said, what? For those who don't know what that means, they had to put a breathing tube in him. Okay. So I said, what happened? He said, well, he went into cardiac arrest. And so we had to revive him. And I'm like, what? So he was like, he was on and out for a second, but he's doing good. So let me finish up some more things and I'll come back out to get you. So it wasn't too much longer. He comes out to get me. And as soon as I got back into that room where my husband was at, the Holy Spirit said, he's not coming out of this one. Why I say this one? Because it has happened several times. My husband has died a total of 3 times, and he's been revived. The last time he was out when COVID came in 2000, he got COVID. Actually, my whole household, me, him, and my daughter, we had COVID. He had it the worst, of course, because why? The diabetes, the high blood pressure, the dialysis, all this other stuff that he was on. So he was out for 45 minutes. Y'all hear me? He was out for 45 minutes, and they were doing CPR the whole 45 minutes. He was brought back to life. with no repercussions, no brain swelling, no nothing. Do y'all hear me? There was nothing behind him being out for 45 minutes. And the doctor said this only happened two times in that time and another time. So 2 times in his history of practicing that he have seen this happen. So nobody can tell me that was nobody but God who done that. And so here we are now that he was out for a couple of seconds, and I'll get deeper into that. So they finally get him situated into a room. The doctor come in and talk to me, did a brain scan. He said, well, I really can't tell too much today. He said, but I'll repeat this brain scan. I'll repeat this brain scan in a couple of days. So within that couple of days, he had another heart attack. Okay. Now, my best friend stayed around the corner from the hospital. So I would go there, shower, take a little nap, come back up to the hospital. That was my routine these whole days. This last day, the next scan came. The doctor said he has massive brain swelling, and there's pretty much nothing we can do about it. He has had 2 more heart attacks since then. So you let us know what you want to do. Now, before that second brain scan, I called his cousin. I let his cousin know, the cousin who was at the vow renewal, his best man. I let him know what was going on, because for the simple fact, my husband told me when he go to the hospital, don't call none of his family members until he come out. That's a whole nother subject. I'm not going to go into that, but that's what was told to me. Okay. I have people witnesses on here because he told them the same thing. So, but because of the nature of what was going on, I had to let somebody know. And at that time, that was the person who I felt comfortable in giving the information to. And I told him, I said, you can tell the family what you want to, but you are the only person that I'm speaking to concerning this right now. So he didn't tell the family right away. Okay. He waited a couple of days, or maybe the next day. I don't remember. But he didn't tell them right then and there when I told him. He waited and told them. And so when I got the second scan, that's when I told him where we were at. Did you tell the family? Whoever wants to talk to him, they need to talk, this, that, and the other. Because I told the doctor, I said, I'm going to let God do what God going to do. I said, no more trying to resuscitate him. I said, because every time he have a heart attack and y'all bring out the machines and crushing his chest and this, that, and the other, it's just a lot. It was just too much. And so, of course, I'm praying. Of course, because now, my family's up there, my mother, I have faith believers. Yeah, people like, well, God did it before, God gonna do it again, but God had already told me that he wasn't coming out of this. So I'm trying to match their faith, even though I know what the Lord showed me. Okay. I didn't tell nobody. I didn't share that with nobody at that time. I just kept that to myself because I'm let them feel how they want to feel. And that's okay. They entitled to their feelings or how they want to feel about the situation. So this night I stayed. I didn't go nowhere. I stayed all night. I didn't go to my friend's house. I brought change of clothes, whatever. And so during that time that I was there, he had another heart attack. So, I said, this is it for real. This is it. I said, you can wean him off the stuff. I said, if God want him to live, he going to live off the stuff. He going to live on the stuff. And so that next morning, my bishop called. He said, he needs to know that you're going to be okay. And then my bishop broke. And then I broke. So this was like 11 o'clock, September 29th. I went in the room. I grabbed my husband's hand. I said, baby, I'm going to be okay. I love you. 11:30. He took his last breath. So yes, I went through the laying over him, crying, all of that. My family was there. My mother was there. Of course, she went into her tongues and praising the Lord and all that stuff. And yeah, that was that. And he took his last breath with a smile on his face. So I couldn't be more than happy for that. It's in my last 1 year. So now I had to call his family and let them know that it was over. It was done. They did. They called. Those that called, I let them hear his voice and speak to him and let him hear all that stuff. So, I don't know what happened. So anyway, now it's time for me to leave the hospital. Everybody asking, "Are you okay to drive by yourself?" I said, "Yeah, I'm fine." After a couple of hours, I'm fine. So I get into my car, driving. Song come on. Frankie Beverly and Maze. It's the song we had for our 360 at the reception. It was between that and God's Plan. And I asked him which one did he want to use. And he said Frankie Beverly and Maze Before I Let Go. So he chose that one. And so the song came on. And as I began to listen to the words, I just broke in the car. And so the words say, "You make me happy. This you can bet. You stood right beside me, and I won't forget. And I really love you. You should know. I want to make it right, girl, before I let go. You know, I think the sun rises and shines on you. You know, there's nothing I would not do before I let go." So yeah, that kind of tore me up. Because not knowing that song was chosen for such a time as that. Now, all this stuff is coming to me. I'm looking at all this in the spiritual now because, again, I'm going back to the 45 minutes of him being out. If he was out for 45 minutes with nothing, and then he's out for a couple of seconds with brain swelling, this is God's doing. This, you can't tell me that. So I'm looking at this in the spiritual realm. And I even said, for those who don't see it like that, I can't make you see it. I'm not about to try to, because why? I just lost my husband and we had a good marriage. Was it perfect? No, it was perfect for us, but it was good. I had a good marriage, especially coming from a first abusive one. So yeah. So now I'm starting to feel like it was a setup. Really. So the phone calls that was being made and the responses from those that was at the vow renewal, what they were hearing from what he was saying, people was like, it was like he was thanking you and telling you goodbye all in one from what he was saying. Even my cousin who married us, he's a pastor, he married us the first time, and the second time he said something, he was like, man, it seemed like he was thanking you and saying goodbye all at once. And Eric, like, so many people were saying, like, yeah, I felt that. Like, wow, it was so emotional what he was saying. So he even said to one person, now I'm just gonna say, but after that one person, I learned that he said it to several. He said, since they didn't support me while I was alive, let's see if they support me when I die. And they started laughing. The person said they started laughing. And he was like, I didn't know he was going to die for real. That was my son. That was the first person who told me that. Then it was several more that he had this conversation with that I had no clue. So I'm like, yeah, he set me up. He set me up. But see, that day when I asked him on the bed, are you giving up on me? If he would have said anything else, then he know my prayers would have went against what he was praying to God and asking God for. So it was not meant for me to know back then and there. It was not meant for me to see the signs. And people may ask, well, you wasn't paying attention to the signs. Sometimes God will block our view from paying attention to the signs because his will needs to be done, especially when he knows God hears my prayers and he answers them. So yeah, it could have been God still was going to do what God was going to do, but it could have been a delay. It could have been an interception or something because he was trying to honor my prayers as well. So it wasn't for me to know what his conversation with God was about and what all this leading up to was. So I told my leaders, I said, I want to have a Zoom call with his family because I'm going through this one time. I'm not having this conversation with this person, that person, one time. So they scheduled a Zoom for that Saturday. This happened Friday. They scheduled a Zoom for that Saturday with his family. But listen, I had a dream that night. I had a dream that 3 of his girl cousins came to me and they were just going off on me in this dream, talking about what they're going to do to me and this, that, and the other. And my husband said, they're not going to do nothing to you. And then I woke up. So I told my leaders this. They say this is God preparing you for the phone call, for the Zoom call. So, okay, we get on this Zoom call. And when I tell you I was about 50 people on there and they all wasn't even family. But see, if I was in my right mind, let it go forth. But I was not even thinking like that at this time. I just lost my husband. Okay. So all these people on here, and I had none of my family, but the bishop and the elder, because I used their Zoom and they orchestrated the whole meeting. So I told them exactly what I explained to y'all about what happened on this ship. This is exactly what I told them. So, of course, people was like, well, you should have did such and such. And how come you didn't know that? And how come you didn't? I mean, they was just coming at me. They would just come at me. Like the 3 people that it was 3 of the lady cousins on there. Then one of them started calling me, you be, and when somebody said that, I was like, in the call, click. So we ended it. I mean, it was absolutely horrible. I just lost my husband. I did not expect for that to go like that. So I'm crying. My auntie comes in. She's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? So, my mom was telling her, she's like, well, I should have been. Why you don't wait for me to be here? It wasn't meant for her to be on there. She said, I ain't saved like you because I was, because, she's doing all that stuff like that. And so God showed me in a dream. God gives me visions in dreams. I'm telling y'all prophetically. And so my dream, the next day, all that was in my dream, it happened. So here I am. My husband had no life insurance because he could not get approved because of his diagnosis. Okay. So now here I am trying to get funds up together. And let me say this. My husband said, wherever he died, that's where he want to be buried. I have witness on that as well. So, and of course, I know that a lot of that came from emotions too, because he was hurt because of a situation that happened. But still, if we had to move to Michigan, he definitely would have been buried in Michigan. If we had to move to South Carolina, and it happened, he would have been buried in South Carolina. So here I am now, like trying to get, family getting money up and this and the other. His family was like, they're not helping me financially if I didn't bring him back, because I wasn't bringing him. I was having everything in Detroit. Everything was going to be in Detroit because that's what he said. So they wasn't helping me financially with nothing if I wasn't bringing him back to Knoxville, this, that, and the other. 2 of his cousins, they did. They said, we're going to do what's right, this, that, and the other. They gave some funds. Of course, I'm not saying nobody's name. They gave some funds, and they said, we're not going to be able to make it to the service, but I am going to come before. Even if we don't get to see him, we just want to see you. And I said, no, I'm going to call this funeral home and make sure they have him ready so y'all can, even presentable. If he's presentable, so y'all driving all that way down here, no, I want y'all to see him. So I made arrangements. They came, they seen, and they went back to Knoxville. Okay. So my job started a GoFundMe because I didn't. My pride was not going to let me. I was not going to do it. However else I was going to have to come up with the money, that's what I was going to do. So my job started to GoFundMe. When I tell y'all my job came through, y'all hear me? My job and my family and friends, when I tell y'all they came through, they came through. Friends that I grew up with, went to junior high and high school and elementary, that I have not seen in years, they came through for me. You understand that? And so I thank God for that. So we got the money together, was able to bury him. So my son kept saying, Mama, you really not going to send him back to Knoxville? And I said, no. So my son kept saying, Mom, I think you should send him back. And I'm like, no, because that's not what he said. And so this last call that my son had, he said, Mama, I never felt like this, and that. He said, but I really believe God is telling you need to send him back. And I can't remember everything he said, but all the stuff that he said, it brought me to, I said, let me get Bishop on the phone so you can tell him this. So he called and told him that. Listen, he even had Bishop emotional because it was not my son. I'm telling y'all, it was not my son. It was the Holy Spirit using him. And for whatever reason, they think that was not the reason. I'm not going to go into that. God allowed it to happen. God orchestrated it for God's purpose and God's glory. And God still got the glory out of it. So after that, I said, I couldn't go against that. I couldn't go against God. So we had 2 services. Had the one in Detroit, having the one preparing for the one in Knoxville. I'm trying to get all the information because now I'm making 2 obituaries. Obituary for Detroit, obituary for Knoxville. And we spent a lot of money on obituaries. I still got a whole lot of obituaries. We spent a lot of money on those obituaries that I could have put towards something else. Okay. Because I'm still having a heart. I'm still being compassionate because I didn't just lose my husband. It was a brother that was lost. It was an uncle that was lost. It was a nephew that was lost. It was cousin that was lost. They experiencing a loss as well. So even in my grief as my husband, where I could have had all the right not to do none of that stuff, but because of the love of God that's within me, because of the compassion that I have, I still was trying to incorporate them in the mix. Even after I just got dogged out, even after I just got threatened and all this kind of stuff, I had to let it go. So I couldn't get any information about the aunts, the uncles, all the people I need to put in the people that I need to put into the obituary. I couldn't get any information. I had to call his high school, one of his high school teachers that emails me, that texts me every day with a scripture, a Bible verse every day. To this day, he's still texting to get some information from his school and stuff like that. So the Holy Spirit showed me they're making another obituary. That's why they're not giving you nothing. So I shared that with my mama and my leaders. I said, they're making another obituary, y'all. Nobody asked me nothing. That was another dagger in my heart. So I haven't even buried my husband yet. And I got to go through all of this on top of the grief of losing my husband that was good to me. And then being treated like that from family and church family that should have been consoling me. Okay. And then here's the thing. After all of that, everybody telling me to be quiet and I can't say nothing. Like I can't shout back out. I can't retaliate. I got to be quiet. Can you imagine that? People coming for you and you can't come back for them? Because you got to still be the godly woman who you called to be. You still got to show the example. You still got to do. Why? Why? So I was obedient and kept my mouth closed while my heart was hurting and aching. So fast forward. Had the funeral service in Detroit.
You're not in the camera.
Okay. It's okay. Had the funeral service in Detroit. Again, the cousin that came, who was the best man, he came. His family, just his family came. But he came in, his uncle came in, my husband's uncle came in, and then the two other family members that drove down, they stayed in the car. They didn't even come in. They stayed in the car the whole time. Okay. Which I thought was like, why? I didn't understand, but here or less. So anyway, had that service, that was over with. I was like in Detroit for September, October, November. I didn't go back to November. October, November, somewhere around there. I went back, getting ready to prepare for the service in Knoxville. Now we were told that when we get to the funeral that people was going to fight us, people was going to do this and that and the other to us, and it was just horrible. So now I got to be on guard at my own husband's funeral service. And so when I did agree to allow his body to come back to Knoxville for the burial, I told him that we were not having a whole full service. I just wanted to be encouraging words and singing. That's it. We're not having no preaching. We're not having this. And so the cousin who came down, who donated financially, I talked to him about it. He said, listen, LaQuanda is allowing this to happen. She's still in control of how she wants stuff to go. And we're going to, that's how it's going to be. It was agreed upon, but it didn't happen that way. And not, he didn't have nothing to do with that. Him or his wife didn't have nothing to do with that. It was other people who did what they wanted to do outside of the agreement that I still can say how I wanted to down all the way around. So anyway, we get to the service. No, first I didn't get all the information for the service. I had to find out. I had to call the insurance. The funeral home and ask them, well, when is this? When is that? And what time you got to be there? So the man was like, "You driving yourself?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Oh no, you're not." He was like, "We will have a car to your house to come pick you and your family up. But no wife who just lost her husband is driving herself to her husband's funeral." And so, I said, "Well, how much is it going to be?" He said, "Don't worry about no, because they didn't put that in there. Don't worry about nothing. We get you taken care of. We get you covered." So God worked that out. I mean, I didn't care to drive myself. That's stuff right there. That's not even important. But it's the principle and it's the respect of it. Okay. So we get there. Yes, I had to go into the church house, packing, locked and loaded, as well as others throughout the church, because we didn't know what was going to pop off inside of the church, y'all, at my own husband's funeral service. So we got people spread it out, just ready for whatever. So nothing took place like I asked. I didn't ask for a preacher. The people who I had that wanted to, that I had to say something, it was other people up there that I knew my husband didn't even really care for to even say anything. So yeah, this is the conversations that me and my husband had in our home. So I'm just watching. I'm just watching the circus because that's what it felt like to me. And at one particular part when somebody was speaking, I was really about to get up and stop the service. Thank God for Lady Tabby Brown, because she put her hand on my knee and shook her head like, don't. Because I was literally about to get up and stop. It was about to be over because it was just too much and it was nothing that I asked for. So I get there, and yes, they did have a whole nother obituary. And I said, I said, don't you pass out another one of those obituaries because I didn't approve of it. And so, the cousin, she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know." But she didn't know. It wasn't her fault. You know what I'm saying? But this is what I got to go through while grieving. So a lot of people say that when you still talk about something, or if it what I say, if you still continue to talk about something and you're not healed from it, and that is a lie. That is definitely a lie. Because why do we have therapists? You go to therapy to talk about things so you can get over it and heal from those things. The more you talk about it, the more you free yourself from it. So, and I always use like a wound as an analogy to healing and being forgiven. So when you have a deep wound somewhere on your body, it's open, it's bleeding, it's tender, and it's painful. Even the slightest touch can cause pain or discomfort. Over time, the wound closes, right? Over time, new skin forms, right? The bleeding eventually stops, right? You can use your arm, your leg again. The wound has healed. But months or even years later, you accidentally bump the same spot. For a moment, you feel a sharp pain. You immediately remember the original injury. Does that mean the wound never healed? No. So the difference is that an unhealed wound hurts constantly, but a healed wound only hurts when it is touched. Did y'all hear me? An unhealed wound hurts constantly. That's when you know that you're not healed from something, because it brings up hurt constantly. You react to it in a negative way constantly. But a healed wound only hurts when it is touched. The pain is evidence that something happened, not evidence that healing failed. So I have a trigger at one of our panel. I had a trigger at one of our panelists' husband's funeral service tomorrow. One of our panelists tomorrow. I said that all backwards. One of our panelists on tomorrow, I had a trigger at one of her at her husband's funeral service. So at her husband's funeral service, he was from another state. He wasn't from Knoxville, but they lived in Knoxville. So his family came from where he was from, and the love and the way that they loved on her, and they didn't even interact like that. If I can remember everything that it might have been the auntie was saying, like, no matter him passing, you can always count on us. We want to continue our relationship and this, that, and the other. And so I admit my trigger went back to my husband's funeral service. And I had to get up and walk out. And I just got in my car and I just cried because that's what I expected. I expected that from my husband's family. I expected the comfort and for us to continue to be there for each other in the time of our grief and in the time of our sorrow, and just be there for each other. So I didn't have that. So God allowed for everything to happen in Detroit, because that is where my help was. Because I do believe it had happened in Knoxville, it would have I probably would have lost my mind mentally, because I would not have had the help that I had in Detroit. So God orchestrated all of that. And that's how I looked at it. That's what helped me in my grief, to know that God's hand was in it from the beginning. God allowed for it to take place in Detroit, because he knew I had to be around somebody that was going to be a comfort, a help, console me, not for somebody to tear me down and throw me to the wolves and push me on the side of the car and leave me all alone, because I had nobody in Knoxville. All my family had moved back to Detroit. So it was nobody there but me and my daughter. And then the people that I did call family was the church people. And I was treated so wrong for taking care of my husband that I thought that I was doing the right thing for. So fast forward to moving on. Let's talk about moving on. When I got back to the house, I slept on the couch for I don't know how long. And I finally made my transition into the room. I took away, I got rid of his clothes. I didn't hold on to a lot of stuff. Now, to each his own. People hold on to their loved one stuff for years. They never want to get rid of it. And it helps them in their grieving process. It consoles them. But not me. I couldn't use it anyway. My sons, they got what they wanted. So I called his sister. And I said, hey, you can come get whatever you want and do whatever you want to do with it. Any of the family members want this, that, and the other, y'all can have it. So, you know, the stuff that I was, she's like, you serious? You giving me this? And thank you. And I said, yeah, because I had no problems with her. I had no problems with the family. I absolutely loved his family, and I still do. So regardless of the way that I was treated, I still love them. So, I had no regrets. For one, that's how I could move on. So I may say quickly, to me, it was my own pace. That's how I was able to move on because I had no regrets. I honored my vows and I took care of my husband and I did my part as a wife. So people thought I had all this money because I'm continuing to travel and this, that, and the other. Listen, I was at one point in time, I was working 4 jobs to keep my mind busy, to keep my mind off of the lost. And God even told me not to do that, but I still felt like I had to make up for the monies that my husband was bringing in that I no longer had because, listen, I thought that I was going to be reaping some benefits. Let me tell y'all something. Make sure y'all get y'all stuff in order. Make sure you get your stuff in order. Because I automatically thought that I was going to get some of his Social Security from being married over 10 years. That is not true. Know the laws. We did not have any minor children together. I was not disabled, and I was not over 65, I think. It's either 60 or 65. So those are the qualifications that you have to have in order to retrieve your spouse's Social Security after death. I got $250 a one-time death, whatever they call it. $250. That's all they give you, and that's it. So you know, I said I'm calling to start my husband's Social Security. She's like, "Ma'am, you don't get it." I asked her those questions. She said, "Ma'am, you don't get anything." So I had to grieve that loss of income. There's another grief. When everybody thought I had all this money because I'm still traveling, I'm still doing that. No, I was doing it on my own from working and taking care of myself. So nobody knew that I was really living 2 Kings 4. That was my now at the time. Nobody knew that. And I'm going to read it. One day, the widow of a member of a group of prophets came to Elisha and cried out, "My husband who served you is dead, and you know how he feared the Lord. But now a creditor has come, threatening to take my 2 sons as slaves. What can I do to help you?" Elisha asked. "Tell me, what do you have in the house?" "Nothing at all except a flask of oil," she replied. And Elisha said, "Borrow as many empty jars as you can from your friends and neighbors. Then go into your house with your sons and shut the door behind you. Pour olive oil from your flask into the jars, setting each one aside when it is filled." So she did as she was told. Her sons kept bringing jars to her, and she filled one after another. Soon every container was full to the brim. "Bring me another jar," she said to one of her sons. "There aren't any more," she told her, and then the olive oil stopped flowing. When she told the man of God what had happened, he said to her, "Now sell the olive oil and pay your debts, and you and your sons can live on what is left over." So here I am in a situation, and my bishop said, "You don't think that God will take your husband and not take care of you?" Because here I am in a situation that I don't know what I'm going to do. And this situation was, I was about to get evicted. Now, let me explain. because it wasn't something that we caused. So during that time, that was, what was it? COVID and all that kind of time. We paid our rent before time, because whenever he got his Social Security, he paid it. So I can't remember what time it came on, but it was always early. Our rent was always on time. It was never late. So our landlord said, well, y'all, you can get whatever rent stuff that they had going on. I don't know. I don't remember what they had going on. He said, but you got to be late. You got to be late on your rent in order to qualify for it, something like that. He said, so don't pay however many months or whatever and fill out the form. So we did, not knowing that he was going to die before they got the money. And let me tell y'all something. Right before he was supposed to get the money, he died. And so he had to let them know that I'm telling y'all, it was like a couple of days before the money was going to come to my landlord, my husband passed. So, of course, he told them the truth that he passed. So now I'm stuck with $3,000 that I got to come up with, or I was going to be evicted in 30 days. Nobody knew this after burying my husband. Nobody knew this. So here I am, asking a couple of people that I knew that I could ask. Because again, pride. I'm not about to ask them. I'm not about to let nobody know my business like this. So God made a way, and we was able to pay. And going forth after that until I moved. So here I am in the city with no family, just me and my daughter and the church people that I looked up to as family. I had to learn how to live in a dead place without my husband. I had to be strong, not only just for me, but for my kids. So I made myself beat grief. Let me tell y'all, you cannot beat grief. So even when emotions came on me, I made myself, nope, I'm not going to feel this. This is what I would tell myself. Nope, I'm not going to cry today. Nope, I'm not going. But instead of going through the process, I made myself not. And it is not good. I'm going to say this again. You cannot beat grief. You have to allow yourself to go through the process if you want to come out healthy. So, don't hide your emotions, and especially don't hide your emotions trying to be strong for someone else. So, again, I finally made my transition from the couch to the bed, because I'm making myself do all these things. It's like I can't sleep on my couch forever. I'm not going to stay in this living room forever. I want to enjoy my bed. I had a big king size, good mattress bed that I wanted to sleep in, but I'm used to sleeping in it with my husband. So now I have to learn how to sleep by myself after all these years. So I'm going to the blanket. I'm almost done, y'all. I'm wrapping this up. So the blanket that they give at the funeral, I had my own made. So this blanket was like my covering. I had it on the bed. I slept with it. Everywhere I went, this blanket went with me. That was my comfort. So you have to find a comfort for you in your grieving process, but you can't stay stuck in that. So I recognized it became a problem when one day I left for work and I didn't kiss the blanket. I used to kiss that blanket in the morning. I used to kiss that blanket at night. I would talk to it and everything, just like our normal routine, because we kissed each other before we left and before we went to bed. So I knew it became a problem when I left from work and I'm rushing out and forgot to kiss the blanket. I turned around. Do y'all hear me? I turned around and came back in my house to kiss this blanket because I felt like if I didn't kiss this blanket, my husband would feel like I didn't love him no more. That I was really over him. So I said, okay, I got to do something about this because this is going too far. So that's when I know that I was getting stuck in the grief. It was a constant recall of the grief. You have to deal with the reality of the loss. Getting unstuck from grief requires some traction. What do I mean? You have to get a grip on this thing called grief so it will not keep you slipping away and prevent you from moving forward. You got to get up and do something about it, whether it's going to God in prayer, seeking a professional, a group, or someone else to confide in. Let me say this. You have to really be strong to go to God only and not someone else or something else. And that was me. I didn't go to counseling. I didn't do any of that. I continue to put my faith and trust in God. And I'm not saying that God can't do it because he can, because he did it for me. But sometimes you need a tangible person to walk you through this thing, to help you through this if you're not strong enough, because you will find yourself falling into a deep depression. So, what we don't understand is that we don't have to be strong all the time. And that's how I felt. I felt like I had to be strong for myself. I had to be strong for my kids, because now my kids is grieving a man who they considered their father. No, he didn't take the place of their father. They still love their father. But he presumed that role. He loved them. He nurtured. He did all of that. All of those things that they didn't have, especially after the divorce, and we were separated from the home, and it was just me and my children. So now they're getting these things, and so now they lost all of that they got, that they were seeking in the first marriage. What are you going to do to replace your hope and moving forward with grief? So I began to pray, Lord, take this thing away from me, because I felt like I was idolizing it. I was making that my God. Now, this is how I'm feeling. I'm going to read y'all Exodus 23:5. You must not have any other God before me. You must not make yourself an idol of any kind or any image of anything in the heavens or on the earth or in the sea. You must not bow down to them or worship them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God who will not tolerate your affection for any other gods. I laid the sins of the parents upon their children. The entire family is affected, even children in the third and fourth generation of those who reject me. We're talking about a blanket. Some may say that is crazy, but that was helping me through my grieving process, because what I had tangible was no longer there. So that was the next thing to me, because it had 3 pictures of him on there. So I was able to feel like I was able to see him. And then they do tell you this in grief session groups. You can still have conversations. Like the person still talks, and it don't make you crazy. But I'm telling y'all, it does help. Yes, it may sound crazy, but it helps. I would say, man, you such and such and such and such. And I'll crack up laughing, and it made me feel better, even though he's not there to respond, but just to get it out and not hold it in. You don't want to hold stuff in the inside. You have to get it out. Now, have we missed the time? I can say we probably have missed the time of giving each other a kiss. Did I turn around? No, I did not, because I took for granted that he gonna be there when I get off. So that's when I knew again that blanket was becoming something else, and I had to get rid of it. Remember this: death leaves a heartache no one can heal, and love leaves a memory no one can steal. And I'm quite sure you all may have heard of that. When we switch our brain language from what we had and not with what we lost, we can deal with the reality of the loss a lot better. We have to surrender our grief to God. You'll notice the switch when you start noticing the things that you can do that you thought you couldn't. Jeremiah 31:13. The young women will dance for joy, and the men, old and young, will join in the celebration. I will turn their mourning into joy. God will turn your mourning into joy. It will not always be like this, especially if you have a heart desire to overcome the grief, the grieving process, because grief is going to be there. I will comfort them and exchange their sorrow for rejoicing. We have to understand that life is still going to go on, even though it will look different. I finally moved from Knoxville to Columbia. I was still sleeping with that blanket over the headboard, still kissing it, because now I'm grieving the move, because we were supposed to make this move together. And I'm happy about the move, but I'm still hurtful as well. Still being faithful to ministry and just going with the flow. I never stop serving, I never stop worshiping, and I never stop praising. I will serve you while I'm waiting. This is what I will tell the Lord. I'm still going to serve you. Still praying to become unstuck. One of this last visit to the grave site that I said it was going to be my last. And I said, is it bad that I said this is going to be my last time going to the grave site, that I'm not going to keep running back and forth? And Bishop, he said, no, that's not bad. That's not a bad thing that you're saying that. And so I said, because I feel like that, I don't want to keep idolizing going there. I don't want to make that an idol. Like that's something that I have to do this. Or if I don't do this, then he may feel this. But no, again, to each his own. This is how I got over grief. But to each his own. If going to the grave site bring you peace, then that's what you do. I'm not saying it didn't bring me peace, but that's not something that I wanted to continue to do forever. Because I already said, regardless of where I move, on this day, that day, if I got to drive, if I got to fly, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. This is what I said at the beginning. But as days came on and the more I was becoming healed from the grief, I realized that, no, I'm not going to do that. No, I don't want to do that. So me and Ashley was going to Knoxville because it was our anniversary. I was going to the gravesite and we get caught in a tornado in Asheville, North Carolina. And it's been all on the news where the whole dam broke. People lost their lives. Homes was underwater. It was absolutely horrible. Okay. So we had to sleep in the car because when I tell you this whole city was shut down. There was no lights, no phones, no nothing. They was even about to call, put out a missing report because they thought we were missing because we couldn't contact anybody. I didn't have any cash. I couldn't use my card because the whole city was shut down. So I found somebody, only people who had service, I think, was Verizon. I had AT&T. Verizon, we found somebody at one of the gas stations. They was on their phone, said, can I please just make one phone call, let my family know I'm okay. And so we were able to do that. And they said we was just about to put out a missing report on y'all. We had people praying this, that, and the other because y'all wasn't answering. So during that time, that's when God released me and told me that I did not have to feel guilty for not going to the grave. God released me from that, and I was free from it. So we get back home, make it back home. In my prayer closet, I'm praying, Lord, just take it away. I'm giving it to you. So as I come out of my prayer closet, I take the blanket off my headboard. The Lord said, remove the covering from the headboard. That's what I heard coming out of my prayer closet. Remove the covering from the headboard. So I took the cover and I put it somewhere because I was going to take it to my storage unit, and because I didn't want it in the house because I didn't want to retract. So I got rid of it and I just went through the process. Did I feel some type of way in the beginning? I did. I felt like, he probably gonna feel like this, but he's dead. And I'm not saying it to be mean, y'all. He's not coming back. Let the dead bury the dead. He's gone. Why? This is me. If your grieving is still going through that process, you do what you need to do. But this is me. This is what I was praying God to speak to me about. So, fast forward to a cruise. I was watching this movie. We were on the cruise. I believe it was Bishop's birthday. Yep, that was Bishop's birthday. It was me, Bishop, Elder, and Prophetess Waitha. And the name of the movie was One True Love, if anybody's seen it. It was about a lady who lost her husband. And she found her high school crush reunited. But then the husband came back. So she had to choose. And y'all not gonna believe what the husband name was. The husband name was Jesse. And so I was sick on my allergies and all that kind of stuff had me tore up. So I was left in the room. And so before Prophet's Wife left out, she said, "Oh, that's a good movie. You should watch that." And so I was in there by myself, and I'm telling y'all, I was boo-hooing because his name was Jesse and he died. And then a friend came, and listen, that happened for real. Like, that happened to me for real in real life, y'all. Y'all don't understand. I can't talk about that right now, but that happened to me in real life. Like, what is really going on? So, yeah, his name was Jesse. And I'm like, reliving all this over again. So she had to choose between the husband and the high school crush. But it's a great movie. But there's one particular part in the movie that I want to talk about. The sister asked, her sister asked her, no, her sister said to her, "You stop living doesn't prove how much you love your husband." Because she would stop doing a whole lot of stuff. And see, a lot of times, people will make you feel guilty because you don't do, because you are continuing on with your life because it looked like you're not grieving in front of them. They don't know what you're doing behind closed doors when you're alone, in your car, in your bedroom. So don't let nobody dictate to you when you are ready to go forth in life after grief has hit your door. And I'm going to say that again. You stop living does not prove how much you love your loved one that lost. I advise you to keep on living. That hit me. So after God showed me the flood, I got a total release. The movie, I got a total release. Days, months was going on. I feel like, okay, I took my wedding ring off. I put it on the right. And for those who don't know, you put your wedding ring on the right hand, and it's called a widow's ring for those that's not totally ready to get rid of it. So at this time, I'm starting to get rid of everything, y'all. It was just happened so quickly. I'm starting to get rid of everything because I'm at peace. I'm at peace. I accepted the loss. I'm at peace. I know he's not never coming back, and I know my husband will want me to be happy. So one of my friends encouraged me to start getting on dating sites and stuff like that. I can't do them dating sites. It's just not for me. But I did try, and I did meet I met a really, really nice man. We went out to dinner, and I got triggered. And when I say he was a nice looking man, he had his stuff in order, everything. He was a pastor's son. And yeah, I mean, so we at dinner, we talking and this, that, and the other. And of course, I'm asking my health questions. And he had diabetes and he had high blood pressure. And so when I got back to the house, listen, I didn't tell nobody nothing because Bishop didn't even know that I had went on a date. Because, like, I'm telling y'all, when y'all see me post dating private and pop out married, that was me. Like, they didn't know nothing. He was like, she went on a date. Like, when was she talking to somebody? Like, because I'm staying in the same house with them and they didn't even know what I was doing. But I'm telling you, I'm so private. It ain't a secret. It's just private. This time around, yeah, that's how I'm going to move. Private and then pop out. And so, that was like, well, how did it go? And I told her, I said, he's a very nice guy, this, that, and the other. I said, but I can't. I said, I got triggered. And I'm telling you, that next day, I stayed in that bed. I cried. I didn't even go to work. I had to call my boss and say, can I take off? I said, I'm having a moment. And sure, I love my job. I'm telling you, I love my job. And so I laid in that bed all day and I cried. He texted me. He was like, when the next time, we can go out again, something like that. Then he texts back and he's like, well, can we go out? And I was like, I just was honest with him. I said, I can't. I said, I'm sorry. I hope you understand. I said, this is what my husband had, what he passed up. I said, I just got triggered. I thought I was ready, but I wasn't. And so, yeah, that was funny being that day type. And so he got, he understood. He said, well, I understand. That's fine. This, that, and the other. And yeah, that was the end of that. Dating sites shut off. None. No more. I will not do that again. But you have to be ready. You have to know when you're ready. And at any given moment, a trigger can come and will come. So here I am back again, by myself, just chilling and just waiting. And so, yeah, you have to learn how to turn your cares into prayers. You have to choose to live in a what is world and not a what if world. What if I did this? What if I did that? Because the what ifs would drive you crazy and leave you feeling guilty. What ifs leaves a false guilt as well. You have to ask yourself whether you do or not. Back to what I said earlier. We are our own prosecutor, judge, and jury. And this is what I learned in one of the Greek sessions, meaning the prosecutor. We accuse ourselves. You should be over this by now. You didn't do enough. You should have caught more. You should have noticed the signs. You shouldn't laugh or enjoy life when they're gone. If you were stronger, you wouldn't still be crying. Then we have the judge. The judge takes those accusations and issues a verdict. We judge ourselves. You failed them. You don't deserve peace. You don't deserve happiness. You should keep suffering because they are gone. The devil is a lie. Why should you keep suffering over somebody that's dead, that's not coming back? And I'm in a grief group today, and somebody asked, how do you know if your spouse wants you to move on? And one of the answers said, "Oh, I'm never moving on." And I mean, I want to come. I think I'm going to come out of there because some of the stuff is the stuff that they say. One person said, "I'm not never moving on," and one person said, one person did put a Bible verse in there was saying, but they dead, like they're not coming back. So why would you live the rest of your life miserable and alone? That person will want you to enjoy life and love again and do that and do this, but some people choose, and that's your choice. And especially if you're older, a lot of older people, they're not looking to remarry and stuff like that. But us younger people, yeah, we want to be remarried again. Even the Bible says that it's good for the young widows to remarry. So you won't be caught up in all this foolishness and sin, all this kind of stuff. Remarry, have children, and produce. This is word. This is in the Bible, and I may be getting ahead of that. But again, getting to the jury. The jury is made up of our memories, our fears, and emotions, and we sentence ourselves because our memories could be painful or good. Y'all see, I post a lot of that. If a memory come up, I said some memories are good and some memories are painful. The last conversation, the missed phone call, the argument that was never resolved, the hospital visit, the moment of death. Back to, is it a fact? Did you do that? Just because we think we failed them, or we think we should have done something to prevent it, or we think we should have known, does not make it true to blame yourself. Examine your thoughts without automatically giving them a verdict. Ask yourself, did you cause it, or do you wish you could have prevented it? Were you responsible for their choices, or are you carrying their responsibilities? Yes, I was carrying a lot of his responsibilities of how he was eating and all that kind of stuff he was doing to his body way before he even met me. So I was carrying those responsibilities. Ask this question. Did you love them? Yes. Then your grief is speaking louder than the facts. Let me say that again. Your grief is speaking louder than the facts when we have these false realities. We have to understand that if you feel guilty about a death and you absolutely did nothing wrong, the guilt is more so because you love that person and felt powerless to stop it. Don't put yourself on trial, and definitely don't let anybody put you on trial. Stop putting yourself on trial and give all the evidence to God. Let truth speak louder than guilt. You will never grieve and be the same person you were before. Let me say that again. You will never grieve and be the same person you were before. That's after any loss that was dear to your heart. The goal is not to get over them. The goal is to move forward with their memory while allowing God to heal your heart. Remember, you can't beat grief. Grief is bipolar. I say that a lot. And it will hit you at any given moment. So give yourself grace to feel and release the emotions. Go through it, but don't get lost in it. Go through it, but don't get lost in it. And I am almost done. After I read this, I came across this on Facebook, and I'm going to read it again tomorrow for the encounter for the women. I ran across this on Facebook, and when I'm telling you, this brought tears to my eyes because this is something that my husband would definitely say. And I'm closing this out concerning grief. To the future man dating my wife, the day I die, and if it's for a husband, if it's for a wife to a husband, just change it to the future woman dating my husband. The day I died was the most devastating day for my wife has ever experienced. The pain of loss took her on a journey that tore her apart and left her gasping for air. This is a new life she didn't ask for. Like the mythical phoenix, she emerged a stronger version of herself. She is now more beautiful, compassionate, and resilient. Do not feel like you are in competition with me. Understand this. When you are dating a widow or a widower, please don't feel like you're in competition to who they lost. Because if you does, it speaks very highly to your maturity. I really do believe that. Because you cannot be in competition with a dead person. You need to remember that just because her love for me will never dim doesn't mean her capacity to love you is limited. She has an infinite capacity to love you with her whole heart and soul the way she loved me. I can promise you that to be loved by her in that way is pure heaven. However, you must accept of her to do the following by allowing her to continue to love me. Just know it is possible for her to love me with her whole heart and soul and still have room to love you with her whole heart and soul. That is the beauty of the capacity of the human heart. The heart can love so many people. We have to understand that the heart is made to love. It has an infinite capacity to love. So as you date my wife, please remember that she will need to be true to her feelings for me, even as she develops a new and amazing relationship with you. You are not in competition. I was her yesterday. You are her today and tomorrow. Read that again. I was her yesterday. You are her today and tomorrow. You are her future, and I will only get to love her from heaven. Here are some things that will help her to honor me and love you even more. I'm going to start right here. Now, Bishop connected me with someone who lost her husband, then she remarried. And the man she remarried accepted her loss. He goes with her whenever she wants to go to the grave. This is what she was telling me. He goes with her whenever she's dealing with grief concerning her. He's right there with her, consoling her, helping her through it. He don't feel threatened. He don't feel in competition with that. And that's the type of person that you will want to have moving forward when you are ready to move forward again. Allow her to keep some of my things in a special place if she chooses. Allow her to take those things out on birthdays, anniversaries, or other special times to honor the place I held in her life. Don't force her to get rid of things I bought for her. Let her decide what to do with the wedding ring, special jewelry, and other items of importance. Remember that just because she holds on to these items doesn't diminish the importance of the gifts you give her. She will cherish your gifts because of the unique and loving relationship you will have with her. Give her space to grieve. Grieving is a process. She may need to be completely alone on the anniversary of the day of my death or the day of my funeral, or she may want to be with you. She may need to celebrate my birthday. Don't try to erase the memory we share or the significant role I played in her life. Give her time to remember. Dating a widow is different than dating someone with an ex. We had a loving relationship. You are dating the woman of my dream, the love of my life. We had a great life together. You do not need to feel like you are competing with a ghost. I cannot come back. Allow her to show how she is feeling. Allow her to share how she is feeling. Listen to her and truly connect with her. Make time for each other. Your relationship with her will be different than the relationship I had with her. That is the way it should be. You get the benefit of a beautiful woman who knows how to love someone, how to build a life together, and how to endure unimaginable pain and come through it a new and stronger human being. So please be careful with my wife's heart. It has already been through so much. She is truly an amazing woman. Any man who has the opportunity to love her is truly a blessed man. Arthur is unknown. And as I close out, I'm going to read this scripture from my ministry. Now, a true widow, this is 1 Timothy 5:5. A woman who is truly alone in this world has placed her hope in God. She prays night and day, asking God for his help. This ministry came about not because of the loss of my husband, but because of the people. I said I never wanted a woman to feel how I felt after losing her husband. The pain that I had to endure on top of the loss was very, very painful. And so that's when God gave me this ministry. I want to be there to help women whenever they need to talk, whenever they need to release. And through that, I've learned that my situation has happened in other women's situation. It seemed like that is something that you only hear in a movie or see on a reality show. Even one of my husband's family members went through it after she lost her husband, and she began to share some things with me. So I am not alone, but it's not talked about enough. They don't feel like they have the help or who they can go to or talk to. So this is where I come in, and I will continue to be that woman that will help another widow, no matter what time of day or night. If I'm available, I am here. And I'm going to read this scripture, Exodus 22. Do not take advantage of the widow or the fatherless. If you do, and they cry out to me, I will certainly hear their cry. My anger will be aroused, and I will kill you with the sword. Your wives will become widows, and your children fatherless. Exodus 22:22-24. So be careful how you treat a widow. Be careful how you treat the fatherless, because God holds them very dear to his heart. Yes, he holds everybody dear to his heart. But the scripture right here says what he will do if you take advantage and mistreat widows and the fatherless. So I pray that you don't do them wrong. Be careful how you handle, especially when they're still grieving, when their heart is still broken. Don't come into their territory playing games. Because if they have a relationship with God, if they cry out and pray to God, He will hear them and He's going to answer. I thank you all for tuning in. I hope you all have received something, will be able to share with someone that's grieving. I hope you've taken notes on how to help you through your grieving process. I hope you'll be able to tune in tomorrow with the 7 dynamic women so they can share what they have to give to you on how they overcame and how they are still overcoming the loss of their husbands. Again, I thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate you all for taking time out of your schedule. I pray God's blessings upon you on tonight. Again, thank you. Thank you. Tune in tomorrow at 7. We worked out all the kinks, so we will be on tomorrow at 7. You may do so. Okay, yes. Questions? Listen, I didn't get none of the questions, so please understand. I didn't do it purposely. I'm trying to read. Whew, tomorrow, listen, I and getting all this together, I'm telling you, I've been good. I really am good with my husband's death because I have no regrets. I really have a peace. And people will say, you so strong. It's God, it's the strength of God, yeah, I'm telling you. And the part that hurts the most is because he was such a good man, like he set the bar high. He really did. So just know anybody can come to me because I know the difference. I know the difference and I just know. So that's the part that hurts me the most. That's in the 5 stages of grief to me that I deal with even now is anger. Like when situations come and I'll get angry, like, why did you leave? The stuff that we take for granted, you wives that are still married and have your husbands on here, like I miss pumping the gas and getting the oil change, and if the tire need to be changed or my car break down, or I don't have a husband that I can call to pick up the phone. So be thankful that you have your husband to be able to do those. When those things come about for widows, when we're used to having our husband do those things, and now you're in a situation where you go outside, get ready to go to work, and your car won't start, and you used to go back in the house to tell your husband to come out to check to see what's wrong, and you don't have a husband to do that. Yeah, anger will set in. Like, why did you leave me? Why did you have to, you ask all those questions, but eventually you'll get over it because it's life. We have to go through the process. But I had a good marriage. I did what was right by my husband. So I have no regrets at all. I have no regrets. I don't regret sending him back. I don't regret none of that. I don't. I'm trying to wait. I'm hearing she's saying about questions. Let me know if nobody have questions. Got 2 more minutes. It was something I wanted to say. Yes, recover. Husbands and wives. Yes, we go through. We have arguments. We have downtimes, all that kind of stuff. But recover quickly. Recover quickly, because you don't want your end to not end well. You don't want your end to not end well. So, yes, recover quickly. Recover arguments quickly. Don't stay mad too long. You know, yes, we have a right. We have a right to be angry. We have a right to be mad. We have a right when stuff hurt us and hurt our feelings and it was our spouse that did this, that, and the other. But recover quickly. Make it right. Because you don't want the what if to be your questions that you have to ask. Amen. So, if no one has any other questions or prayer requests, again, I thank you all for tuning in. And we will be on tomorrow, the panelists of 8 awesome women. And we will go forth. Good night. Love you all.